into high pace. Grab your mates, it's time to unlock NHL Bar Talk.
Layup, get the damn hoop.
We go shot here.
The easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around.
We're all in this game, let the good times shake.
And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey Sports Talk. We're engaging our confidence on these NHL topics based on a choice to drink. So confident you bite around. So still have a beer. Or, oh, God, I need a shot. Play along down in the comments below, everybody. And just a reminder, I didn't mention it before. Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. I'm actually wearing my Big Apple Hockey jersey that I had custom made. I have to work on getting more of those for you guys so that we potentially, be good to spread the virus around. And as always, a reminder, if you feel like going out tonight, Wing Wednesdays at Boss Croakers, where it's $4 Miller Lights and Yinglings, $2 tacos, chicken or beef, and 40-cent wings. So head on down there. Philk, Adam Fox last year, I'll make the argument for the games that he did play. I know he was injured. That's what's going to hinder a lot of it. But I'll argue that might be his best season outside of the Norris, or maybe 23-24.
I would agree. Yeah, I do think 23 and 24 and this year were his two best years outside of the Norris year.
Now, given that he was injured, given that he was playing for a brand new coach who I don't think he exactly meant to disrespect him, but he did. With that stupid whiskey drinkers comment.
Yeah, that was dumb.
And Fox kind of being a little bit frustrated. He still produced as much as he did. But fortunately for the New York Rangers, Adam Fox is a professional. And I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So Adam Fox will be with the New York Rangers next year. And Adam Fox will notch precedent and is not moving. Okay. Adam Fox will notch 70 points next season with the Rangers.
Or 70.
75, sorry. Adam Fox will notch 75 points next season with the Rangers.
If healthy, I'm buying a round. And I've gotta say round under the pretense of health. If he's healthy, yeah, I could see him scoring 80. I think a full year with Gavrikov, a slightly improved offense. The offense actually could go either way. It depends on what they do with their remaining moves. But I do think that, the team has kind of deferred a little bit too much to Panarin in the past. They've got a sniper now. I do think that this could be a year to see improvements out of Lafreniere and Perreault. And if that's the case, I think they're a much better team offensively. So it could go either way, but I do think Fox will score 80 points. I think if he's healthy, he scores 80 points. I think he'll play a lot better with Gavrikov, and I think Gavrikov will have a lot better of the season. I know that some people have said Gavrikov was shaky. Listen, the guy played a lot of time with Braden Schneider, who people look at Gavrikov's analytics and they say he was shaky. I thought Gavrikov was great, considering the revolving door of defenseman he had to play with, and a large part of it being Schneider. Yeah, I'm gonna say Fox will absolutely. This is a round for me. I don't think it's a layup, but I'm gonna go bold. I just think that, to me, the best two-way defensemen in the NHL are him and Zach Werenski. I think Werenski.
Okay.
Werenski is a better skater and shooter, so I think it's a little easier for him to put up more points. And the fact that the offense just completely goes through Werenski and Columbus is part of it. It's kind of like 2023 Erik Karlsson. San Jose Sharks were dumpster fire, but Karlsson ran the entire team basically. Fox, I think, can score 80 without having that aspect.
Fox won the Norris Trophy under David Quinn, who's still the assistant coach. Fox finished second and fourth in, I believe, the next 2 years. I think there was a year that was in the middle that I missed. Sorry about that. It was he finished fifth after winning the Norris, second in 22-23. and 4th in 23-24. Adam Fox will make a resurgence this year. Adam Fox is definitely going to score over 75 points. Now, he's got to be healthy. It's got to be the thing. And I don't think the Rangers did anything to protect him last year. I mean, he got absolutely destroyed in the Tampa Bay game. And the first thing you need to do is just play better. And I think his forwards need to give him a little bit more help. Hopefully that's the case, and they're a little bit more defensive minded this year. And this, by the way, speaking about what you mentioned with Gavrikov, there are people that are disappointed. Gavrikov tried to be everywhere last year.
Yeah, and he had to have been. There was just no help.
Yeah, he did it offensively and defensively. It's just what you said. There was no help. There was nobody left.
The analytics and the eye test literally both said that Fox and Gavrikov was one of the very best pairs in the league when they were together last year.
Yeah. And even if they decide to split them up this year, let's say if it's Albert Smits makes the team and he plays with Fox, or I still think splitting them up might be the best idea, but I think they're going to be together to start the season. So no need to worry about that, Ranger fans. Islander fans, though, they didn't make many acquisitions on July 1st, but one of the guys that they did get was Mattias Maccelli. Last year with the Maple Leafs, 14 goals, 25 assists, 39 points. Not that impressive when he's trying to replace Mitch Marner or the replacement by committee they were trying to have over there. But Maccelli did have a 57-point season with the Arizona Coyotes a couple years earlier. Not so good as only season in Utah. So, Phil, Mattias Maccelli will score 60 points with the Islanders next season.
They don't have the big-time offensive weapons. That's a concern for me. I wonder where he's going to be on that power play. Because right now, you look at, obviously, Schaefer, Barzal, Horvat. Kyle Palmieri would probably be your bumper / net front presence if he's healthy. They don't really have a lot of offensive weapons otherwise. So I imagine he'll probably be on their power play. And he'll get an increase in minutes. Because I don't think he was playing a ton of minutes in Toronto, if I was correct.
No, I believe not.
I believe he played like 14 minutes or something. Yeah, 14:34 is what he averaged last year.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
It's not a lot, especially for a guy that you brought in for a top 6 role of all teams. So I'll go beer. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think if you get 50 points out of him, you take it and you run. I do think there is a possibility where if he's playing like crazy amount of minutes, like let's just say he ends up on their first line somehow, maybe that could happen then at that point. But I do believe he's an underrated playmaker. Not much of a goal scoring threat though. But again, you need to have guys like that in your lineup because you need guys that can facilitate play. He's underrated in that aspect. So I wonder who he plays with. It really depends on minutes and usage.
I'm going to use a term, so forgive me if I'm slightly off on this. He sort of reminds me of a poor man's Matt Zuccarello. And I think in the right circumstances, he could end up being really productive. You look at the year that he had in Arizona, which was the last year he was in Arizona. 17 goals, 40 assists, 57 points. He was a -4. He was playing 16 minutes a game. They go to Utah, 55 games played, 8 goals, 10 assists. He was only playing 13, 44. And he gets a minute increase and only about 20 points extra. He's a guy that if you're playing him 16 minutes, I think you're going to see the production out of. Now, I also have this saying, is he a good player on a bad team? I actually do think he's a guy that maybe Pete DeBoer could look at and go, I could work something with him. You give him the right combinations, and he's a facilitator. Maybe he gets the shooters a little bit more time. Maybe, I mean, I think maybe he could get the puck more to Emil Heineman and set him up for more than 22 goals. So I think Maccelli can do something here. 60 is a lot of points. So I think he's got to get the power play one. So the best I can say is beer on this one as well. I like the pickup. I like the player. I also like the fact the Islanders aren't spending that much on him, and they could reset. But ticket prices are all over the place. I used to waste hours comparing sites until I discovered SeatGeek. Here's the game changer. They actually rate every ticket so you can see which seats give you the best bang for your buck. I've used it for everything from Rangers games to concerts like Billy Joel and comedy shows like Nate Bargatze. The app shows you the view from your seat before you buy, which is honestly genius. No more guessing if you're stuck behind a pole. Whether it's sports, music, or comedy, SeatGeek covers thousands of events. Stop overpaying for mediocre seats. SeatGeek. Let there be life. Meantime, the Islanders got youth coming up through the system that could potentially unseat him should they either need to move him at the trade deadline or should they need to know if they want to keep him and maybe add to him around that youth. The other part of that is I don't think he's going to be Jonathan Drouin, which I think Jonathan Drouin had the first goal of the Islanders season, and then you never heard from him.
Quite the downfall of that guy, man. You go from a top 3 pick to what he is right now in the span of, I mean, it's been 13 years since he's been drafted, but geez, he's not 35, and he's just
kind of forgotten about.
He's 30 years old. He's Nathan McKinnon's age. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then when was his most productive season? Probably second most productive season with Nathan McKinnon. But you know what? If you're lucky, you get a guy that you draft first overall, Phil, and a guy that ends up becoming the all-time leading scorer for your franchise and potentially the NHL, then he actually becomes the NHL leading scorer, which is what Alexander Ovechkin did. He's going to return for his 22nd season, and he's got 929 goals, most of all time. We saw what he did in the Gretzky chase. We saw a motivated Alexander Ovechkin who came back from a broken leg at light speed and then just wrecked goaltenders' confidences after that. But Phil, this might be his final season. And Alexander Ovechkin will be more energized in this final season than the Gretzky chase.
Wow. Okay. Beer. I don't know. I don't know how you can say this with conviction, just because of the fact that I get it. They look like they're loading up for a cup run, and I imagine that they're probably going to make moves. I think they need to add somebody on defense. I do. I think they need to add like a legitimate difference maker, somebody to make up for the loss of John Carlson. But I definitely think that they are trying everything that they can. All the moves that they made this offseason tell me that they're not just loading up for this year, but Jordan Kyrou and Alex Tuck are going to help them for at least the next 5 years. Their defense definitely needs some sort of help, though. I think that we'll be seeing a team that is going to make a lot of aggressive moves at the trade deadline, though, because I think they're going to be I think they may even be the top team in the division. Like everybody says, oh, Carolina. Okay, cool, fine. I think Washington's got an excellent top 9, one of the best top 9s in the league right now. So we'll see what happens, but I do think that there is reason for him to be energized just because of the fact that they're clearly going to try to get him another cup before we go. But this is a good question. Where does he slot in? We'll see. It's really on Spencer Carberry, but we'll see what goes on.
Right. I think he's got his office on the power play. We all know what that is.
Yeah.
And Ovi's made it comical over the years of just standing there like he's a cone. And the next thing you know, the puck's in the back of the net. But yeah, where does he slot in at even strength? I'll tell you what. You look at that Gretzky chase. When he started scoring, you started seeing the kid Ovi coming out, the guy that was enjoying hockey and just loves playing the game. You also saw the professional, like when Ryan Leonard scored his first goal, and they went out, and he even also said that he didn't want to score the record-breaking goal on an empty net. But he's really become more of a professional, more of a leader, and he says this team has improved greatly, and I am right there with him for it. And I had the Islanders as the number 2 team in the Metro. I now have the Capitals as that. We're going to get to Anthony's rankings when he comes on, probably next week. But this team could make a run and really surprise people. And I think nothing energizes a player more than winning. And when if he starts seeing this team, like 2 years ago when they won the division, and if they can smell a chance to go on a deep run, potentially to the Stanley Cup Finals, and potentially a chance to win it, Alexander Ovechkin is going to finish the job. He did it in 2018 when he had his chance for the Stanley Cup, when he finally got past the second round to the conference finals and went on to lead the playoffs in goal scoring. That's what Alexander Ovechkin is able to do. And you look at what he's got right here. You look at, oh my goodness, Phil.
Yeah.
You look at Dylan Strome, Jordan Kyrou.
I mean, you Kyrou and Tuck. I mean, you could flip-flop Protas and Tuck. Mm-hmm. You could flip-flop Kyrou and Wilson. You could. I mean, does Ovechkin play on third line? I mean,
do you even call it a third line?
Yeah, and that'd be one of the best third lines in the NHL if that's their third line. That would be. You could flip-flop. I mean, maybe not Ryan Leonard. It's crazy to think that Ryan Leonard would be a third line right wing, and that's a guy that looks like he could be on the edge of maybe becoming like a 50-point scorer. And then you have a guy like Ilya Protas who scored 4 points in his first 4 games last year. Justin Sardif as a solid fourth line center, and then you've got a veteran like Beauvillier as your fourth line winger. Like that might be the best forward corps in general in the league right now. Who's got better? Colorado, maybe?
You could try to argue Carolina, especially since they just won the Stanley Cup. Florida.
Yeah, that doesn't always mean they have the best lines. Like, okay, they're the defending Cup champions, but if you look at their lines on paper, are they as good as everyone says? Like Colorado. Let's bring up Colorado. I'm gonna
okay.
Do that. And let's stop sharing that. So we'll do a little share.
Just to get our faces back for a second.
Yeah.
All right, we're bringing up Colorado right here with Philk.
Okay, so you look at that this stupid ad on this page. Sorry. Go away. All right, so let's get rid of this banner. Sorry, my current banner. All right, so you've got Arturi Lehkonen, Nathan McKinnon, Martin Necas, obviously, Nazem Kadri, Brock Nelson, Gabriel Landeskog. They bring in Nick Waugh, and they have Jaden Schwartz there, Logan O'Connor. You have Schwartz basically in the Ross Colton role, kind of replacing him, or Val Nichushkin. You bring in Fedor Svechkov, which is nice. Zach LaRue with that trade, which I thought was a really good trade for Colorado. I don't know what Chris McFarland was doing there, but again, that's a real solid forward group.
That's a solid forward group. You don't mind them being a little bit long in the tooth. That they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players over the age of 30, and I'm not including Nate McKinnon, who is 30. He turns 31 in September. But by the way, I'm not including Nate McKinnon in that analysis because he's still probably the second, mayy third best player in hockey.
You kind of have to, but yeah, he's probably the second best player in the world right now. Yeah, I get it. It is a concern, but there's just so much other talent around them that I'm not overly worried about that team. I think that's still going to be a great forward group. The dude, McKinnon, had 53 goals and 127 points last year. Like, are we really gonna? Yeah,
I'm not gonna group him with the same thing of guys. And look, Brock Nelson had a great year, but it's you see when age catches up to guys, and it catches up to a collective. Like, we weren't talking about Jordan Stahl's age until he became the oldest Conn Smythe winner of all time. But an entire team that's that old, it's sort of the reason why, and granted, the game was a little bit different 30 years ago. One of the reasons why the Philadelphia Flyers were able to blow past the New York Rangers in 5 games, because their youth was an advantage. Also, their size was an advantage.
I think I would worry a little more about their defense and their forward group, Colorado. I mean, Kulak, all right. I don't know if I would want him in a top 4 role. Josh Manson, Brent Burns coming back at 41 years old, 42 years old. So, yeah. But, I mean, I look at, I agree with this. I think they play longer series against teams that were better, and Carolina, it just kind of worked out perfectly. I do agree with this. I also think he was underrated on Seattle, and Matt Larkin of the Hockey News actually brought up a good point that he seems like a real bounce back contender, Jaden Schwartz. Like, he said he wouldn't be surprised if he was like a 50-point player, because Jaden Schwartz really hasn't had a lot of good talent around him in Seattle. He's going to be playing with a lot better talent in Colorado, and he's going to be probably playing in a reduced role with that. So there might be better opportunities for him to produce against lesser competition with better talent on his, on his line. So for me, I do agree. I think he is a bounce back candidate.
Well, let's switch from one first overall pick to another first overall pick, because Gavin McKenna will wear number 92 for the Toronto Maple Leafs next year. He always wore 72 his entire career, but Sergei Bobrovsky came along and changed that plan real quick. Last year, Penn State, 15 goals, 36 assists, 51 points, a real solid second half, and he's the number 1 overall pick. But you got to ask this question, Phil. Gavin McKenna will not win the Calder next season.
Ooh, I'm gonna go beer. I do think you got. I think my favorite as of right now, just because I think he's going to be more ready, and I think he's going to get more ice time on a better team. I'm actually going to go Porter Martone. I think Porter Martone, for me, he's got to be the favorite to win it. The way he looked down the stretch, he was a point per game in the regular season, and then he had an incredible playoff first round against the Penguins. I mean, he got shut down afterwards, but Philadelphia just wasn't really good enough to hang with Carolina. They weren't. Yeah, maybe if he's playing with Matthews, that could be the Marner replacement. I mean, it's a good point. I can't argue against that point. But I just think that Martone is going to have a lot of chances. I think he's physically ready. And then what happens if Anaheim does not match this offer sheet? What if Carlson goes to Philly?
Yeah.
Then you could have Martone and
big
Carlson playing together. Thanks, Verbeek. The entire Metro is fucked at that point. So, yeah, if that happens, oh man, I would not want to see Martone and Carlson together as a fan of a Metro division team. So, definitely like. I like Martone even without Carlson as a favorite. But if they get Carlson, forget about it.
I have one question. Is Ivor Stenberg going to be in the NHL next year?
I think there's a strong chance that he might be.
Because if you end up throwing him in the NHL and he ends up on a line with Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini,
man,
he's the most NHL ready guy.
NHL. Oh god, yeah, that's a wrecking ball type line right there. Is what that is. Another one you might have to look out for. Anton Frundell.
Yep.
Like that. If he can come along and he can secure a spot next to Connor Bedard, I know Bedard had the shoulder injury, but I mean, by all accounts, he's going to be back in time for the start of the season and everything. And I think training camp as well. But if he's playing with Bedard, oh man, that is a real good player that you're adding to a franchise type player in Bedard. So that's some of the ammunition that he's needed.
Yeah. And even if he's not playing with Bedard, let's say if he's playing on the opposite, on the second line away from Bedard, and he gets the favorable matchups for him, he ends up putting up good numbers. You know, the Calder is going to be tricky because we got to figure out who's going to be where and who's going to be committed, who's staying, who goes back overseas. So we're going to make a more accurate prediction soon, but I will go beer on this one. And the reason why I couldn't even just stop with beer is, look, I know McKenna is going to be going to Toronto. It's a hockey hotbed. He's going to be playing with Darren Radish now. That's going to be your new trigger man at the point. And Matthews is going to be in the Ovi spot and firing off pucks like that. So all you got to do is just get him to Matthews. It could be him, and you don't have to be on a first place team to do it. You could be on a last place team and get the Calder, but I would say it's just a beer because I got to know who else is there. However, he might not be the most NHL ready player, but man, is he going to look good in a few years? All right, let's go to the Pacific Division. Don't have anything for the Central right now, but let's go to the Calgary Flames, where they traded for Simone Nhiech and they signed him to a 5-year, $36.25 million deal, 7.25 AAV. You look at those career numbers for the second overall draft pick in, was it 2022? That one? It was the Uris Slavkovsky draft, but 23. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, 2022. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
anyway, yeah, my mistake. I was overshooting. All right, but you look at those career numbers, Phil. 155 games played, 16 goals, 33 assists, and 49 points. A minus 28 rating for a defenseman. But I mean, I don't think the Devils really did much to help him. But in Calgary,
too far into that.
Yeah, Simone Nhiech will prove he's a franchise defenseman in Calgary.
I'm going to say shot. I don't think he's a franchise type. That draft was kind of really hit or miss, if you ask me. I look back at that draft, and that ended up being a real weird one. I didn't like the pick there at 2. I probably would have went Cooley, and I know Shane Wright kind of fell in that draft, but Cutter Gauthier ended up being a really good pick. Well, not for Philly, he ended up being a really good pick. But, I mean, I look at that top 10 there. Nemec has been a miss so far. Wright has been a miss so far. Jiricek has been a miss so far, and he's been traded twice, I believe, now. Korchinski has been a miss. Marco Kasper has been a miss. Matt Savoy is finally starting to come around. Mintyukov, I'm not going to say he's a miss, but not great. Connor Geeky, nothing to write home about. Kind of a miss so far. But, I mean, a lot of these guys really haven't been all that great. So, I know we're 4 years removed, so you got to see some sort of progress. But, I mean, Jimmy Snuggerud is looking like one of the top 5 best returns from this draft so far. So,
Where did St. Louis take him?
They took him at 23.
Okay.
So, but yeah, what's up?
I was going to say, which says something that you basically go, you're Slavkovsky and then Jimmy Snuggerud, 2 best players of this draft so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say Cooley ahead of him. Cooley went 3, and then Gauthier went 5. I would probably Slavkovsky, Gauthier, and then Cooley. That's your 3, and then I would say Snuggerud after that. And then, I mean, you could probably go down a few rounds, and yeah, it's really no one else really kind of after the first round, but yeah, that's really kind of the top 4 out of that draft. Yurov's really only had like 1 season you could really talk about though, and no, I wouldn't do this. I would not do this.
No, not right now. And not with the way the Rangers centers are positioned. Because again, if you're going to use, speaking about that trade, if you're going to use JT Miller as a center, which is better because I don't think he's a wing, then Baudouin or Laba are your 3rd line center, potentially your 4th line center for the other one. Because you could always
Wright probably wouldn't play center then at that point. He'd probably be on JT Miller's wing, which would move Bjorkstrand down. I understand why.
Yeah.
Romanello would suggest it, and it's not a bad suggestion, but I'm not high on Shane Wright. I'm not. I don't know if he's checked out of Seattle, but his stock has done nothing but fall over the last 5 years. I don't see it. I know he had that like 140-point year, but I mean, he's really done nothing to show me that like, hey, he's worth taking this risk on. Because I don't think it's just going to cost Schneider. If it was Schneider for him straight up, I understand it. But I think they would. Yeah, Wright had character issues. And that was another thing.
Yeah,
like there was a lot of concern about his character and his effort level, and I don't know if I want to. Is this really an issue? Is Schneider that much better than a replacement level defenseman?
Yeah, that's. I think this is sort of the last gasp for Schneider. I think he's gonna. If the Rangers decide to keep him, it's because they're keeping him because he's a budget-friendly guy.
I guess I'd rather have Wright than Schneider, if I'm being totally honest. But
even at that, right?
Does Wright really move the needle for you, though? Like,
right.
So here's the thing: this team went into a mode where, we're going to move forward. We're going to trade draft picks, and we're going to give up futures, and we're going to try to retool and get back to contention as soon as possible. Do you want to go and trade assets for a piece like Shane Wright? Or do you want to go and make bigger moves and really go all in on this? Because I think in order for you to get back there as soon as you can, I think that you have to go after bigger pieces. So for me, you have to go after a guy like Marchenko or a guy like Robertson or something like that. I don't think Shane Wright is going to get you there and get you there anytime soon. I don't know. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. So,
I mean, sometimes players just go into situations that, and you know what? It's a good thing you guys brought up Shane Wright, because as I'm making this point, players go into certain situations that we're going to hold on to that for one second.
No, well, I'm going to address this real quick because this is what I was getting at. This is part of why I said this, because I don't think they're done. I don't. I think they recognize that this forward group might not be good enough. But at the same time, Johnny Lazarus brought this up. And, you know, the group that they have right now, is it better than what was going on last year? Yes and no, because you don't have Panarin, you don't have Trocheck. But at the same time, you retooled this. You have to go forward and make these moves, because if you don't add to this, then what was the point of doing this?
I don't agree with adding Anthony Mantha. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't like Mantha's 21.7 shooting percentage last year. I think he's due to regress from that. And
Tolvanen is more of a boomer bust guy.
I'd rather go add Kane than Mantha. And I know I get shit for saying, oh, add Kane. No, well, I would rather facilitator than a guy that is a big-time regression candidate, especially away from Crosby and Malkin.
Right, and I'm not in love with Patrick Kane, but I would agree with you on that. I'd rather have Kane over Mantha. And everybody that usually signs Mantha or acquires Mantha, they're not exactly in love with him. Detroit, he went from Detroit to the Capitals. He was okay with the Capitals, and then worked his way over to Pittsburgh. He had a good run with Pittsburgh, but I mean, I don't know. Just when it comes to him, I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The guy's already had character issues called into question. I mean, if you want to bet on somebody, I don't know if this is the guy really to bet on to be that guy. I'm just saying, like, that's just my 2 cents on it.
If part of his character issues was that he was not drafted by Montreal first overall and he went to Seattle and has pouted ever since then, shut up. That's all for him, not you, obviously, Phil. But that's where I would say for him.
I know you weren't talking about me.
Yeah, it's just, are you kidding me? And sometimes guys get drafted into situations and then they just mentally check out, or the organization kind of puts them in a bad spot. This is sort of what happened with Nemec. Nemec, did he really have the chance to develop here? And is it, you know, it seems like Luke Hughes was the darling and Nemec was sort of the afterthought. And, you know, Nemec even had his hero moment. He had the overtime goal against Carolina. This guy could develop into a good player. Do I think he could develop into a franchise player? Let me put shot on this one. And just say, no, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I'd kind of be shocked if all of a sudden he exploded into this great thing. But there are the late bloomers that happens in this league and in professional sports. Guys that figure it out in their own way. And then there are guys that just, you know, I mean, I'm about to do a video on Jim Carrey. Talk about, he's sort of hockey's flash in the pan. Almost the ultimate hockey flash in the pan. But it's just, Nemec has got to prove that and justify why the Devils took him at 2. And we're going to see how he does in Calgary. And Calgary, if he is a quality defenseman, or at least a guy that they think he could be, that deal could look like a bargain. And let's see what Zane Parekh does in that same defense core. So I'm eager to see what they're going to look like soon. And Calgary rebuilding the right way, going with youth and trying to go and figure out all that. All right. Actually, with Phil here, I was able to get some pick'ems, and let's do them.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.